Imagine planting your flag, your families, your future in a new world, only to vanish without a trace. In the late 16th century, this wasn't just a chilling thought experiment, it was reality. An entire English colony, over 100 men, women, and children, disappeared from Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina. Left behind? Almost nothing. No definitive signs of a struggle, no bodies, no scattered belongings suggesting a frantic escape. Just empty houses reclaimed by nature, and a single cryptic word carved into wood: Croatoan. This is the story of the Lost Colony, America's oldest unsolved mystery. For over 400 years, the question has echoed: what happened to the settlers of Roanoke? Welcome to the Gray Labyrinth, where we explore in the shadows of the unknown. To understand the mystery of Roanoke, we must first step back into the turbulent world of the late 16th century. England, under Queen Elizabeth I, was locked in a fierce rivalry with Spain, the dominant global superpower. Establishing a permanent foothold in the Americas was more than just exploration. It was a strategic move, a challenge to Spanish authority, and a quest for resources. Sir Walter Raleigh, a charismatic courtier, explorer, and favorite of the Queen, became the driving force behind England's colonization efforts. His first attempt landed on Roanoke Island in 1585. But this was primarily a military outpost, focused on reconnaissance and establishing a base for privateering against Spanish ships. It was ill-equipped for long-term survival. Harsh conditions, dwindling supplies, and deteriorating relations with some local Native American tribes led to its abandonment after just 1 year. The soldiers sailed home, leaving behind a fragile legacy. But Raleigh wasn't deterred. Learning from failure, he envisioned a different kind of settlement for his second attempt in 1587. This wouldn't be just a fort, it would be a true colony, the city of Raleigh. It carried families, farmers, craftsmen, women, and children. Nearly 120 souls setting sail with dreams of building a new life, aiming for the more promising lands around Chesapeake Bay. Leading them was John White, an artist and mapmaker who had been part of the previous expedition. Yet, trouble began before they even truly settled. Due to reasons still debated, perhaps a dispute with the difficult ship's pilot, Simon Fernandez, or simply navigational errors, the colonists weren't landed at Chesapeake Bay. Instead, they found themselves deposited back on Roanoke Island, the site of the previous failed venture. It was a setback, forcing them to make do with the less-than-ideal location and the remnants of the abandoned fort. Life was undoubtedly hard. They worked to repair the old structures, plant crops in unfamiliar soil, and navigate complex relationships with the diverse Algonquian-speaking tribes of the region. While some tribes remained wary or hostile due to lingering friction from the 1585 military group, White managed to reestablish friendly contact with others, most notably the Croatoan people who resided on a nearby island, also known as Croatoan. Amidst these daily struggles, a moment of symbolic hope arrived. In August 1587, John White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare, gave birth to a baby girl named Virginia. Virginia Dare holds the distinction of being the first English child born in the Americas, a symbol of a potential future rooted in this new land. But symbols couldn't fill empty stomachs. As summer faded, the colony's supplies dwindled dangerously low. They were isolated, thousands of miles from home, facing an uncertain winter with insufficient provisions. The colonists realized they urgently needed help from England to survive. They collectively decided that someone needed to make the perilous voyage back across the Atlantic to plead their case and gather essential supplies. After much debate, they persuaded Governor John White himself to undertake the mission. He was reluctant to leave his family, including his newborn granddaughter, but he ultimately agreed, promising a swift return. Before leaving, the colonists agreed on a contingency plan. If they were forced to move from Roanoke Island, they would carve their destination into a prominent tree or post. Crucially, if they were in distress or forced to leave under duress, they would carve a Maltese cross above the name. With this understanding, White set sail in late August 1587. He couldn't have known the devastating timing of his arrival back in England. The nation was on high alert, preparing for imminent war with Spain. In 1588, the legendary Spanish Armada set sail, aiming to invade England. Every available English ship, every sailor, every resource was mobilized for national defense. England's very survival hung in the balance. John White was trapped. His pleas for a relief mission for Roanoke fell on deaf ears amidst the national crisis. Civilian voyages were halted. Despite his desperate efforts, securing ships and supplies became impossible. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, months into years. 3 long, agonizing years would pass before the war subsided enough for White to finally secure passage back to the colony, back to his family. In August 1590, John White finally approached Roanoke Island once more, his heart surely pounding with a mixture of hope and dread. What he found was silence. The settlement area was deserted. But the scene wasn't one of destruction. White noted that the houses had been taken down, dismantled carefully, not burned or ransacked. Defensive palisades remained standing around the settlement's perimeter. It didn't look like the scene of a violent attack. Searching frantically, his party found clues. On one tree near the water's edge, they found the letters CRO carved into the bark. Then, the main discovery, on a prominent post of the palisade, clearly carved, was the single word Croatoan. White's heart likely leaped. He immediately knew the significance. Croatoan was the name of the nearby island, modern-day Hatteras Island, and the home of the friendly Croatoan tribe, whose chief Mateo had been a reliable ally, even traveling to England previously. And, crucially, White observed there was no Maltese cross carved above the word, no sign of distress according to their prearranged code. To White, the message seemed clear. The colonists had survived and voluntarily relocated, likely moving south to live with the Croatoan people. He was relieved and eager to sail the 50 miles south to Croatoan Island immediately. But fate intervened once more. A fierce storm battered the coast, damaging their ships and losing critical equipment like anchors. The season was late, supplies were low for White's own crew, and the captains of the expedition refused to risk the treacherous waters around Hatteras. They turned the ships eastward. John White was forced to return to England, utterly heartbroken, having come so close, yet ultimately failing to reach Croatoan or reunite with his lost family. He would never again have the funds or opportunity to return to America. And so, the curtain fell. The colonists were left behind, their fate sealed by a carving and a storm. What truly happened after they carved Croatoan? This is where fact ends, and the labyrinth of theory begins. Over the centuries, numerous explanations have been proposed. It's vital we separate plausible historical interpretation from wild speculation. Theory 1. Assimilation. This remains the most widely accepted theory among historians today. It posits that the colonists, likely facing starvation or hardship on Roanoke, moved south to Croatoan Island or perhaps further inland to live with the friendly Croatan people or other allied Algonquian groups. They gradually integrated, intermarried, and adopted local customs, eventually losing their distinct English identity over generations. Supporting evidence. The clear Croatoan. Carving without a distress signal is the strongest clue. Reports from later explorers and settlers in the 17th and 18th centuries sometimes mentioned Native Americans in the region with gray eyes, European features, English-sounding surnames, or oral traditions hinting at white ancestors. Archaeological digs on Hatteras Island have uncovered mixed European and native artifacts dating to the correct period, suggesting cohabitation. Theory 2. Relocation and perished. Perhaps the colonists attempted to make their way north towards their originally intended destination in the Chesapeake Bay area, or struck out inland. Without adequate supplies or knowledge of the terrain, they could have succumbed to starvation, disease, or conflict with less friendly tribes along the journey, dying before reaching safety or leaving further trace. Points. This theory would explain the disappearance, but doesn't fully align with the lack of distress signal or the specific Croatoan carving. Theory 3. Conflict or attack. Could the colony have been wiped out by hostile forces? Some point fingers at less friendly inland tribes, resentful of the English presence. Others suggest the Spanish, operating from Florida, might have found and destroyed the settlement to eliminate an English foothold. Points against. The dismantled rather than destroyed state of the settlement argues against a large-scale battle at the site itself. A Spanish attack likely would have been recorded in their own meticulous records, but none has been found. Theory 4. Disease or starvation on Roanoke. It's possible a devastating epidemic swept through the colony, or that starvation simply overwhelmed them before they could relocate, potentially leaving only a few survivors to carve the message before they too perished or left. Points. Possible, but again, doesn't fully explain the neat dismantling or the specific carving pointing towards relocation. While fringe theories involving sea voyages gone wrong or supernatural intervention exist, they lack credible evidence. The most likely scenarios involve the colonists' interaction with the native populations and the harsh realities of survival. Each plausible theory presents its own supporting points and unanswered questions, leaving the colonists' ultimate fate suspended in historical uncertainty. Over 100 men, women, and children sought a new beginning, only to become figures of enduring mystery. They vanished into the vast landscape of the New World, leaving behind a single tantalizing clue: Croatoan. Despite centuries of searching, archaeological digs, and historical detective work, the precise fate of the lost colony of Roanoke remains stubbornly hidden, locked away perhaps forever. It serves as a powerful, humbling reminder that sometimes history doesn't offer neat conclusions. Sometimes it leaves us wandering through corridors of speculation, with more questions than answers, trapped within a true gray labyrinth. What do you think happened to the lost colony? Was it assimilation, conflict, or something else entirely? Share your theories and thoughts in the comments below. If you want to explore more historical enigmas and the intricate mysteries of the human mind, subscribe to the Gray Labyrinth and be sure to click the bell icon so you don't miss our next investigation, and thank you for watching.